Want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Hey everybody, this is Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews, and today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to give you an inside look into how much money that YouTube is paying out for advertisements for channels. This is some data that I've always wanted to get myself, especially when I was starting my channel, which is a booktube channel. But I wasn't really able to find it. People are really cagey with kind of holding that information inside. And I kind of like to be very transparent and let you all know what's going on behind the scenes with my channel. So with that said, let us get back into it. And I want to give you a little bit of an intro into my channel in case you're not used to watching my videos and want to know a little bit about the background of my channel, or you're a little bit newer to my channel and you don't know kind of where I came from. So before that though, I want to say that what I'm going to go into is like my personal journey. It's not anybody else's. And so if you're making videos, this is probably not exactly what you're going to see. You could be making 10 times more than me for the same amount of views. You could be making 10 times less. It all depends on a lot of different factors, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. But you know, the fact that I'm right now at this kind of even numbers of 500,000 views and 8,000 subscriptions, it might be able to give you a little bit of a barometer into what to expect. So some backstory into my channel. So like almost everybody, I started from nothing. Now some channels do. Some channels have a large following on some other platform that then able to springboard onto YouTube. You know, if you have a ton of Instagram followers or TikTok and you start up a YouTube, you can bring a lot of those people over. I was not one of those people. So I started with zero, and it took me a long time to kind of get my groove into figuring out how to get to where I am now. But I did have a little bit of a cheat in that I did have a Goodreads following. So if you are watching these videos regularly and you're following booktube, then you probably have a Goodreads account. Most people do that are really into reading and following that kind of thing. And so I did a little bit of cheating on Goodreads. Friendly cheating, I don't think I broke any rules, but essentially on Goodreads you can have a maximum of 5,000 friends. And so I very quickly tried to add as many people that I saw that were active in discussing and reviewing and just generally involved in the fantasy part of booktube, and I wanted them to be my friend. And so every day for like a month I would add a ton of people until I got to that 5,000 cap. And then when I'd make my reviews, I would get a lot of people liking them and commenting on them. And so when I started a booktube channel, I put a little tag at the top of every one of my reviews that said, I have started this channel, come check me out. Now, it didn't bring some avalanche of subscribers to my channel, but it did bring a trickle that I would not have gotten otherwise. So I decided to start my channel on March 15th in 2022, and that's a little under a year ago, like 11 and a half months ago or so. And my goal when I started was nothing. I just wanted to get things out. I felt like I had this platform and I was able to kind of talk about things kind of free-flowing. And what I really wanted was to have an area where I could talk about the books that I'm reading, most of which are not like new releases, and be able to discuss them with people because I love talking about the books I'm reading. I don't want to just do it all on my own. I don't have anybody in my personal life where I could talk about these things. But when I started my YouTube channel, I noticed it just like sticks out like a sore thumb. There is a monetized button on the creator's side of YouTube. And when you click it, you're like, oh, I can start making money. But it says, in order to get monetized, you have to have 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. Now this feels daunting. This feels like you're never gonna get it. And for me, I finally got it on August 29th, so about 5.5 months later. And it was way faster than I expected, but at the time, it felt like it took forever. It felt like I was not making any progress. And you're gonna see why in a moment. I was not making a ton of progress up until the very end. So when you're doing this, you can't really go into it thinking, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money. You have to just like it. You have to do it because it's enjoyable, because you're gonna spend a lot of time making these videos. Now, Personally, I don't do a lot of editing in my videos. I press record and I talk, and I do it all in one take. In a video like this, I might take a couple takes so I can switch some data since I don't have all these numbers memorized. But in most of my reviews, or all of my reviews and most of my other videos, I do it all in one take, and that makes it a lot quicker than most people, because the editing process for me, all I'm doing is putting up some pictures. I'm not having to like slice and splice and combine video together and sound and all that stuff. I don't mess around with that. But even then, it still takes me a long time. So for any random video I make, I probably spend on average about an hour, maybe an hour and a half for every video. And I've made well over 100 videos. So that's way over 100 hours that I've devoted to spending time on this. That's not a small amount of time. That's a lot of your life that you're gonna devote to making these videos. So you have to like it. And it takes a lot of time. But even if you do things on a bare bones kind of level like I do, it's still gonna be a lot of time. So let's go into the data. Let's start looking at my first month. So at about 30 days into making my channel, I had 1,000 views. I had 80 subscriptions. The lowest amount of views that I had in a single day was 4, and the most was 87. And the least amount of subscriptions I got was 0, and the most I got was 7. So it was going slow. At this pace, it was going to take me a very long time to get monetized. And at this point, I had nothing. I had no equipment other than a really simple webcam that I had already had. I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have anything. And it showed. The quality was very poor. And like my audio didn't sync up. Nothing was right. But I just wanted to make videos and practice. And that's something that's really important. I think everybody's going to tell you that. If you ever want advice making a channel, just start doing it. You'll figure it out later. You'll make corrections as you go, but practice. I don't know if it makes perfect, certainly not in my case, but it makes better. So let's fast forward to 5 months in. By this point, I had bought a microphone, and I was getting a little bit more honed in on the way I wanted my videos to sound and look. But it was nothing like what you're seeing now. So at that point, 5 months in, I had 22,000 views. I had 728 subs. I had 1,900 hours. The least amount of views that I had was that 4 number that I talked about in that first month, and the most amount of views was 747. Now, the least amount of subs I had was -1, and that was demoralizing when I saw that. That felt like I am in a downward spiral, but luckily that did not continue. And the most amount of subs I had was 20. So at this point, I was getting close to getting monetized from the subscription side. 728, didn't have a lot to go. I had about probably 2 months left. But the hours, I only had 1,900 hours, and I had to get to 4,000. So I was looking at 10, 11 months if it went on the pace that it went. But that's not what happened, because let's look at what happened by 1 month later, at 6 months. At 6 months, I had went from 22,000 views to 71,300. I had gotten the lowest amount of views that I had in that span was 524, and the most I had was 4,425. I had 1,400 subs at this point, so I went from 728 to 1,400. I almost doubled the amount of subs. The lowest I got in that month 6 was 9, and the most I got was 117. So what happened? What happened was one of my videos caught the YouTube algorithm, and it took off. It was this video that was called the Top 10 Most Overrated Fantasy Book Series. Now, I made that on a whim. I thought it'd be fun to make. I hadn't really seen that many people do that, and I had fun doing it. And after I made it, it performed like most of the videos that I make. Now, over here, you're gonna see what it looks like when a normal video gets made. On the views side, what you see is a very large spike in the first day. And by the second day, it is almost entirely plateaued. Now, you'll get a little bit of a rise, very tiny, but your growth is over. But when you get into the algorithm, what you'll see most of the time is that you will have that normal, huge rise, then it starts to slow. And just when you think it's about to plateau, it takes off at a way bigger rate than you were before. And it will stay that way from anywhere for a few days to a few months. In my case, it stayed like that for about a month. So every day I'd wake up and I would have thousands and thousands of new views on that. And I would have anywhere between 20 to 50 new subscriptions a day. And it felt like crazy. I didn't really know about the algorithm at this point. It felt like that was going to just continue. Now, that's not what happens. Eventually, it gets out of the algorithm, and it just plateaus like every other video. Now, you might be asking yourself, and what is happening when the algorithm is picking up? So essentially what's happening is when you make a video, you're given some data about that video. And the main pieces that you're given is the amount of views, how it compares to your previous 10 videos. You're told how long the average person is watching, and what percentage of people are clicking on that video when they're given an option. So when you see a video made and you're seeing all of these factors way higher than normal, like for me, even now, the average amount of people that are clicking on my videos is like 7%. The average they're watching a video is like 8 minutes. And when I made this video, it was not like that. The average that people were watching it was like 15 minutes. The average amount of people that were clicking on it was like 16%. And YouTube picked up on that, and that sent the message to YouTube that people are loving this. We can get more ads out of people that are watching this. So let's start giving it to more people. Now, when you start on YouTube, YouTube doesn't know what kinds of videos you make. It doesn't. It bases it all based on data on how people react to your videos. So for me, when I'm making videos, it knows that the types of people that like book reviews are happening to watch my videos way higher than people that don't. Way, way, way higher. So over time, I've got this bubble, right, of people that are watching my videos that like that sort of thing. But when the algorithm hits, what it's saying is, we normally give Matt this people, but now we're gonna go over here and give him this new group. And who knows what that new group is? Maybe that new group is science fiction readers. Maybe that new group is, other kinds of books in general, or video games, or something. And it's saying, what do they think about it? And that will lower the amount of people that are clicking on it by a percentage, and you'll see that dip pretty quick as it hits the algorithm, and that's by intention. And so now it's sending it to new people, and those are now in your bubble. So when you make future videos, those are the people that are going to be watching your videos. So you don't want a video to hit the algorithm unless it's exactly the kind of content that you normally do. The worst thing you can do as a content creator is to get something in the algorithm that has nothing to do with your channel. So if I all of a sudden made book reviews and I got a huge video out there involving video games, that would be a very bad thing. Because all of my future videos, I'd have all these new people that like video games, and they would not be watching my content, and it would ruin my performance numbers, making it so that I basically have no chance to ever get into the algorithm again. So you have to be careful. So that's what happened, and it was pretty cool. And I got this huge rise, and I got monetized by the end of that month. It takes a few days once you hit that cap for YouTube to say, okay, you're in. But I got in on August 29th. So now let's look at month by month what my performance was like and how much money that I made from that point forward. So in the first month, it was like the tail end of August through most of September. And in this month, I did multiple top 10 videos. I realized that the algorithm loves top 10 videos, so I made several of them. And what happened was, I got more views. I got 76,100, which was not a lot more, but more. The least amount of views that I got in a day was 526, and the most amount of views was that 4,425 again. The subscriptions that I got in that month new was 1,500. So I basically doubled in that month. The least amount of subscriptions that I got was 9, and the most was 118. Now, monthly, all of that got me $387.54. The least amount of money that I made in a day was $2.61, and the most was $28.11. So I'm sitting there at the end of this month looking at the money that I made, mind blown. YouTube just paid me almost $400 to do the same thing that I was doing for free. That's cool. Now, that's not some enormous amount of money. That's not money where I can quit my job, not even close. But it is very, very cool. And what that enabled me to do was to go upgrade all of my equipment. I got lights. I got a new bookcase so that I could fill my frame with books instead of what I had before, which looked kind of like a barren room. Now, what it looks like right now is I've got my whole room with books, but basically all the books that I own are in the frame that you're looking at right now. And I got a nice new camera that was used, but it was nice 4K camera. And then I got a new microphone. So I actually went into the hole that month because I knew, look, if I'm making this much money, by the next month I'm gonna get paid back. And then some. And that's what happened. So let's look forward to the end of September through October. And in this, I started a new series where I did my top 100 fantasy books. And every week I would go through a new 10. So I started with 100 to 91, and I would talk for a long time about these books. And all of those videos performed rather well. In fact, they're still performing well. Because people watch the whole playlist, and I made them into a playlist, and people will oftentimes watch all 10, which is very good for my channel. So in that month, I got even more views. I got 88,500. The least amount of views I got in that month was 719. The most was 6,136. The subscriptions I got in that month was 1,400. The least amount of subs in a day was 3, and the most was 133. Now, monthly this month, I got $446.48, which is an increase from the previous month. The lowest amount I got was $3.97, and the most was $36.64, and that brings my grand total after 2 months at $805.91. And this just felt great. This felt like it is snowballing now in a good way. And every month I'm going to make more and more, and I'm going to get this, rather linear curve in the positive direction. And that is not what happened, nor will it happen to pretty much anybody. It's just not how it works. You're going to have up months, you're going to have down months. Hopefully over time you'll slowly be increasing, but maybe not. You just never know what's going to happen. So let's move on to the end of October through November. And in this one, I was getting towards the end of that top 100 books videos. And as that went on, more and more people were watching it because it was getting closer to number 1 and people like that kind of stuff. And in that month, I got 87,200 views. The lowest amount of views I got was 1,094, and the most was 5,537. Subs dipped a little bit. I got 1,100. The lowest amount of subs I got was 15, and the most was 79. But monthly, I made even more. Because my videos got really long. These top 10 videos were like an hour long. People were watching. YouTube was serving them multiple ads per watch, and it got me a lot of money. So it got $627.85. The lowest I got was $8.06, and the most was $61.08. And that brings my grand total to that point at $1,422.23. Then things took a downturn. Let's look at the end of November through December, and I couldn't get into the algorithm. I tried, I just couldn't do it. And I got a little bit frustrated, not majorly, but it was like, man, maybe it just, I don't know what happened, but I'm not getting there. And so in that month, everything basically got halved. I got 45,300 views. The lowest was 678. The most was 3,478. Subs was 467, which, let's be honest, that's a ton. And I was very grateful for it, but it was way less than what was happening before. The least amount of subs I got in a day was 5, and the most was 26. Monthly, that month I got $270.35. The lowest I got in a day was $286, and the most was $26.60. So that brought my grand total to that point to $1,681.43. So now let's move on to the end of December through January. And in this month, things got a little bit better on track because I had a lot of videos that I made that were like end of the year recap videos, and none of them like exploded, but they did a lot better than what I was seeing in the previous month. So that month I got 81,500 views. The lowest amount of views in a day was 847, and the most was 7,759. I got 1,200 subscriptions. The least was 7, and the most was 225. 225. Now that seems like an enormous number. Why did that happen? That happened because for whatever reason, there was a thread on the fantasy subreddit on Reddit, and my name was brought up as one of the best booktubers for fantasy, and that was very cool, and tons of people subscribed to my channel. I probably got like I don't know, 500 subscriptions just from that thread over the course of a few days. It trickled off and then it got down to nothing, but that's why that number is so much higher than what everything I'd seen up to that point. That month I got $365.18. The lowest amount of money I got was $3.72, and the most was $43.76. And that brought my grand total after 5 months to $2,000.42 with 26 cents. Now let's go to this most recent month, bringing us up to a full 6 months, and that is the end of January through February. Now the lowest amount of views I got there was 1,332. The most was 4,557. The least amount of subs was 16, and the most was 154. 154, that's a lot. Yeah, another Reddit thread happened. So awesome. Thank you, Reddit, for everybody subscribing. The least amount of money I got in a day was $5.58, and the most was $23.17. So that month I got $342.42, bringing my 6-month total up to $2,385.93. And that's awesome. That's where I'm at. And now that's not how much money I've made off doing this channel, because I spent money also. I probably spent, I don't know, 600, maybe a little bit more. But I also made more money too outside of just doing ads. I do sponsorships. This doesn't account for sponsorships. And I have a Patreon channel and account, whatever you call it. And that doesn't account for that either. But this is the ads. This is what a rough ballpark of what you can expect. Now again, you might not get anywhere close to this. You might laugh at how little I'm making here based on how much you're getting. But that's what I saw. There's a lot more factors that go into this, like CPM rate and all these really specific things that YouTube follows that I don't really follow. I don't bother, getting all concerned and caught up with that kind of stuff. Maybe you do, and that would take a whole nother video to explain that I don't really want to, because I don't even understand it myself. So that's where I'm at. I hope you've enjoyed this open transparency into my channel. Maybe I'll do another one of these after a year, so you can see, maybe I've fallen off a cliff and now I'm making nothing, and maybe it explodes. More realistically, it's probably just a little bit more of the same, but we'll see. So thank you so much for sticking with me till this point, and as always on this channel, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all of my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier patrons: CJ, Danute, Jamie, My Book Is Lit, Romeo Mike, Ron Reich, Russell, and Sky.